It is March 26th, 2025, and a lot's going on in the world. And we'll be talking about that and letting folks know what's happening in the world, including apparently Palestinians take part in the largest anti Hamas protest in Gaza since the start of the war. So hundreds joined the largest anti Hamas protest since that war began. And definitely, this is a rare public show of dissent in Gaza. So apparently, the Palestinians are getting frustrated with Hamas. Pope Francis is now recovering in the Vatican, but what's next for his papacy? That's what folks are wondering. Pope's doctors considered letting him die, and Pope Francis' doctor reveals harrowing details of hospitalization, including 2 near-death scares. So definitely they were saying that they considered stopping treatment to let him go after serious breathing crisis. And Russia convicts a captured Ukrainian on terrorism charges. Russia convicts captured Ukrainian on terrorism charges in a trial Kiev denounces as a sham. Russia hands the long prison terms to Ukrainian Azov fighters who defended Mariupol. So that's something going on in that part of the world. And like a sound from hell was an illegal sonic weapon used against peaceful protesters in Serbia. Calls grow in Serbia for investigation into claims sound cannon targeted protesters. So that's something that we're hearing as well. And definitely South Korea fires, 18 dead, as acting president speaks of unprecedented damage. So a historic Buddhist temple burned in South Korea wildfires. Centuries-old Buddhist temple destroyed as unprecedented South Korea wildfires leave at least 24 dead, according to some of the latest reports. And a Palestinian Oscar winner feared for his life during an Israeli settler attack. Oscar-winning Palestinian film director released after being attacked by Israeli settlers. So definitely he's saying that Israeli soldiers beat him after attack by the settlers. So Hamdan Balel, Palestinian director of No Other Land, was attacked in the West Bank, witnesses have said. And I guess there's some other reports even coming from the gentleman himself. And Gaza's stolen childhood, the thousands of children that Israel has killed. So Gaza's child amputees struggle with recovery, especially after Israel's cut off of aid. So definitely some people are saying Palestinians' children are the future, and definitely they're wondering why Israel is targeting them. So they're saying child after child, Israel has killed 270 plus Gaza children since ditching the ceasefire last week, according to the NGO. And days after the Signal leak, the Pentagon warned the app was the target of hackers. Now, a Signal app used by hedge can leave doors open to hackers. And some folks are asking, what is Signal, the app that Trump officials use to discuss war plans? And China remains top military and cyber threat, as I was reporting yesterday to U.S., according to intelligence report. And there's even some of the intel chiefs saying that China poses the biggest military and cyber threat. And the U.S. has blacklisted over 50 Chinese companies in a bid to curb Beijing's AI chip capabilities. So U.S. adds dozens of Chinese entities to the export blacklist. So Trump is taking a tough new approach to choking off China's access to U.S. tech. And we do know that China has a lot to do with the U.S. tech market. So we'll see how this all plays out as well. And the Turkish opposition leader visits jailed Istanbul mayor amid the protests. So definitely Erdogan accuses the opposition of wrecking Turkey's economy during protests over the mayor's jailing. And the EU has rejected Russian ceasefire demands for sanctions relief. EU says unconditional withdrawal of Russia from Ukraine is a precondition to amend sanctions. So it looks like they're still having those talks, and we'll see what goes on in those talks. And Houthis say 17 airstrikes hit Yemen as rebels attack the U.S. U.S. strikes home on Houthi drone experts in Yemen, and it looks like the U.S. strikes lead to heavy Houthi losses. So we've got some heavy fights going on in the Middle East and in Ukraine and in a number of other places as well. And like I said, the Atlantic pushes the full Signal thread with hedges and definitely apparently they print the whole attack plans and everything like that. So we'll see whether folks are reading them and what they think of them. And the intelligence chiefs are to face grilling from House Democrats over the Signal blunder. So Gabbard and Radcliffe face Signal chat questions at House hearings. So we'll see what folks have to say about that. And judge has blocked immigration officials from arresting Columbia students. That was reported on yesterday and everything like that. So the federal judge blocked detention of Columbia anti-Israel protester Yan Su Chung. So we've got all these things going on with who can be deported and who can't be deported, and all along those lines. And man and two children are found alive after a plane crashed into a lake and everything. So a crashed plane pilot and two daughters survived on the wing for 12 hours before being rescued from an icy Alaska lake. So definitely that's some good news in that area. And Vance and his wife were trying to appease Denmark with change to the Greenland visit plans. So there's apparently Denmark welcomes U.S. decision to skip Greenland dog sled race amid Trump's wanting to obtain Greenland. So Greenlanders are apparently uniting to fend off the U.S. as Trump seeks control of the Arctic island. And Trump signs a new executive order to change election rules. Apparently, he signed an executive order aimed at fixing elections and promoting integrity. And I understand he also signed an executive order about federal voting and definitely having federal voting ID as well. So this is going to be an interesting day of stuff going on in the news. Senate has confirmed Dr. Marty Makary as Trump's FDA chief. So FDA Commissioner Marty Makary is facing an abortion pill minefield, but he has been confirmed to lead the FDA, and it looks like Trump's pick to lead the NIH was also confirmed as well. And a gunman who killed 23 in a racist attack at a Texas Walmart offered a plea deal to avoid the death penalty. So that's just some of the news going around in the world. I've actually got to get ready to make a run very shortly and everything along those lines, but I'm bringing Nick and see who else might join us. I thought I heard another click, but I guess that was a figment of my imagination and everything like that. So we're going to see what's going on in the world and around the world and all in that space. But definitely a lot's taking place, and we're going to see what's happening in the world as definitely the Hill GOP closer to including debt limit hike in massive Trump agenda bill. So the GOP senators warn Trump agenda will be slowed by internal division, and all in that way. And the GOP lawmakers to file a censure resolution against Crockett over her comments over Abbott. Representative Crockett refers to Greg Abbott, who is disabled, as Governor Hot Wheels. Later on, she was actually saying that he was making a hot mess with some of his deportations comments, but definitely some people are saying crude and cruel. Jasmine Crockett's Hot Wheels slam sums up politics. So definitely we'll see whether she gets censured. I know that one of the other Texas representatives was censured as well, and she has been trying to rally around defending those remarks and everything like that. And Trump administration has stopped processing some green cards to do more vetting. So Trump administration pauses some green card applications as part of an aggressive vetting effort. So they're trying to get some vetting going on in that space. And Columbia University faculty files a lawsuit against Trump administration over $400 million in losses in federal funding. So it looks like they are one of those suffering. I know that Nick doesn't think that they need to be worried about it because they can get some of that private donations and things like that, but we'll see what he's got to say about that. And borrowers have zero power, according to The Hill. Trump moving student loans to SBA sparks concern and confusion. So with the FDA, with the Department of Education on the chopping block, some people are trying to figure out what's going to be the future of getting aid to go to college and all along those lines. But like I said, I'm going to see who we've got around here and everything like that. I think it's only Nick and everything. So Nick, you. Yeah, he's still got the Mickey Mouse voice. I did hear some clicks in and out. It might have been Kim trying to come in. Yeah, it still sounded like Roger Rabbit. Might have to go out and come back in, and who knows, maybe some other people will join by that time. It sounded like Roger Rabbit. Yeah, Nico sounded like Roger Rabbit. Wisconsin court race tests Trump's approval as Musk pours millions into campaign. So Supreme Court candidate Judge Brad Shamil meets with supports in Dane County, confronted by protesters. So definitely looks like political giants Obama and Trump are backing opposing candidates in a widely watched Wisconsin Supreme Court case. And definitely Trump SSA pick not seeking to privatize Social Security and saying he will meet people where they are or something along those lines. So Social Security nominee, according to the Washington Post, falsely claims no Doge contacts, according to what Democratic senators are saying. So the specter of Doge is hanging over Social Security. And Bernie's Fighting Oligarchy Tour is organizing too. AOC and Sanders erase Biden as progressive movement moves on. So Bernie Sanders is drawing crowds as he pushes Democrats to fight oligarchy. So they're doing some mega rallies and all along those lines, but we'll see if they can actually get people in maybe a simpler message or something like that. But we're going to see how this all goes. Well, I've got Rick Rosner and Nick Palveda. And like I said, I've got to get ready to...
We can bail out now, Mark.
Yes.
Go to your Haiti Center.
Yeah, I can go bail out.
I Rick and his $400 million donation to Columbia University like they need it, And in the meantime, other universities and private colleges starve while they sit in the richest city in the world and beg for $400 million from the federal government, which is to me absolutely ridiculous. So
I'm sure that 95% of that 400 million is to be spent on, not just is to be spent on research programs that are
so what? Researching what? For who? Why? Who cares? I mean, the thing is, it's government money that the federal government doesn't have. Look, if New York City wants to make the contribution or the state of New York wants to make the contribution, I have no problem at all. But to rob people from Salina, Kansas, to send money to New York City is just absolutely wrong. I would just, I'd cut that whole research project off. And they research a lot of incredibly stupid things at universities, things that won't make a difference, but it doesn't matter. It's not an investment. It's more government giveaway. And I was appalled when I was in New York because I've been a member of Carnegie Hall for years, and that the federal government donated to Carnegie Hall $1 million. I mean, what sort of graft and corruption is that?
All right, so let's see. I'm looking up what that money would go to. And they're getting the money back, apparently.
Oh, it was a loan? See, if it's a loan, it's a different story.
No, funding.
I'm totally against it.
So, but Columbia said that they would overhaul its student disciplinary process, ban protesters from wearing masks, bar demonstrations from academic buildings, adopt a new definition of anti-Semitism, and put its Middle Eastern Studies program under the supervision of a vice provost. Hold on, it keeps get at it. Who would have a say over curriculum and high. So they did everything Trump wanted them to do.
Yeah, see, that's wrong too. See, that's just pure blackmail. So the problem that I see, and it still exists today, and it's not going away with Columbia University, is...
All right, so later in the article it says, Dr. Andrew Lastman, a brain cancer specialist and associate director of clinical trials at Columbia's Cancer Center, said researchers will have to make difficult decisions if the cuts stand. Those choices could include prioritizing which experimental cancer treatments they will focus on and how many patients they can treat. So among the 400 million, among the things the 400 million would pay for would be continuing clinical trials for people with cancer.
Yeah. And so the thing is, there's not any rich people in New York to fund it. Come on, Rick. I used to work in New York City. I worked there for 5 years. The average, and this is back in the 90s, the average person I met with had at least $10 million. And so you're trying to say...
So you're saying that just because New York has a bunch of millionaires, that everybody...
No, excuse me. Billionaires, please, and centimillionaires. I met a lot of centimillionaires and billionaires. And for them to sit and grovel to the poor people of the United States for 400 million is an abomination. I hope it does hit the press, and I hope Doge knocks this out completely.
Yeah, but Doge is a bunch of idiots who don't know what they're doing. If you listen to David Walker, who has a show on our network, he says the right way to do it is to make strategic cuts based on studying what can be cut over a period of years, not having some lunatic sweep in and slash and burn.
Well, this is one that should be slashed and burned a long time ago. Again, the state of New York, if they make that 400 million, I don't have a problem. City of New York, if they make it, the multi-billionaires who live in their castles in New York, if they make it, I don't have a problem. But to sit and beat up taxpayers around the United States to donate to New York City's Columbia University is wrong today. It's wrong 500 years from now. I don't care if they're researching how they're going to make people live forever. It doesn't matter. You know, they need to come up with the money, not the people in the United States of America when the U.S. is broke. And this is what's wrong with how the United States government is run. We can't find enough places for graft and corruption. And this is just corrupt to do stuff like that. I mean, I'm just, first of all, I didn't know, honestly, I didn't know that the U.S. government was giving Carnegie Hall $1 million a year until I sat down last year. I was at one of the programs.
Columbia is not Carnegie Hall.
Carnegie Hall, $1 million, baby, from the federal government to Carnegie Hall. And oh, by the way, they were listed with all the other multi-billionaires that were donating $1 million because they had plenty of people donating millions.
So New York is a net giver state, like California, where so things in New York might get money from the federal government, but New York gives more money in taxes.
What? So Crimea River and play me a violin.
So what about the programs in the taker states? Oklahoma, Mississippi, Arkansas, Alabama. Do we want to go through there and take money away from?
It depends on what the money is being used for. So the thing is, a lot of those what you call taker states, they have military bases, and then they say, well, they're taker states. They're not taker states. These are people working for the U.S. military. And so that's just an apologist argument. Oh, well, it represents a small portion. Oh, well, stealing. I just stole $400,000 from you, Rick. It's just a small part of your net worth, so who cares? Stealing is wrong. And that's what they're doing in New York. And I'm glad this was brought up. I'm glad they're doing this lawsuit because this way the American public will know how dirty it is and how deep the swamp is in Washington, D.C., where they take a rich university like Columbia that has $18 billion in endowment, $18 billion sitting in cash, and they turn around and hand them.
They have $14.8 billion. That would be in income from the endowment funds 12% of Columbia's operations.
Yeah, and the thing is, but it's last time I looked, it was 18 billion, but may have gone down to 14 billion. But it doesn't matter. The point is, they should not be receiving federal government money because now let's look at the federal government. How much money they have? What's their net worth? Negative 37 trillion. Negative 37.
All right. In this year, the National Cancer Institute. This is federal funding for cancer research. They got $7.2 billion. That works out to be $22 per American.
Yeah.
That seems like a reasonable price to go after cancer.
Yeah, well, if the American public wants to donate that, I have no problem. But the thing is, for them to...
But now you have, and that money has gone through a congressional, and I know it's not perfect, but that money has been approved by Congress to be spent on cancer research. But now you have an unelected, Musk, kind of an idiot in some ways, with a squad of unqualified.
Rick, the unelected thing, all the people that work for the government almost all of them are unelected. In other words, every one of the stupid bureaucrats I run into, and I run into them all the time because I have to fight them in court, are unelected. I had two of them that came from the PBGC. They were unelected and they chased down, they beat the tar out of a couple.
You have a gripe against one specific department.
No, I got a gripe because that's a lot of different departments.
No, but your main one is against the Pension Regulatory Board.
The Pension Benefit Guaranty Corporation, yes.
Yeah.
They should be eliminated.
Because they've treated you and your
They
clients
don't treat me
badly.
badly, they treat my clients badly. And the thing is, when you see this aberration in the behavior that exists in Washington, D.C., I just can't wait till Elon Musk takes his.
You're a burn it all down guy. You don't even live in America anymore. You moved to Spain because
It's just
like
like,
you're burning America from like 3,000 miles away.
yeah, well, the thing is, you have to agree. You have to agree with certain things and disagree with others. I agree with the burn down. Here's what I disagree. If you want to where I'm saying, this guy Peter Hegseth, or whatever his name, Hegseth, what a bloody moron. I mean, and this is the reason why Trump's businesses failed. It wasn't because of Donald Trump. It's who he chose to associate with. I mean, does he know how to interview employees? Peter Hegseth is just a complete idiot. Any idiot would know you just don't do random invites on sensitive information, whether it's classified or not. But let's look at the background of Peter Hegseth. He's basically a military brat who became a news reporter and now Secretary of Defense. Well, that really qualifies you. Like, not. Okay.
Well, the highest rank he ever served, and I'm not even sure it may have been a rank that sometimes when you retire from the reserves, they give you a bump up in rank.
So he was a corporal.
What's that?
So he was a corporal, from private to corporal.
No, he went from he retired, I think, from the reserves as a major.
Oh wow! Actually, then he had a pretty good pension.
But a major. But they say that he never managed more than 7 people during his military career.
I would say, given his behavior, I'd say that's correct. So that qualifies him. That's the best person you can find in the United States to be the Secretary of Defense.
Well, Lloyd Austin, the former guy. Now, there was an issue with Lloyd Austin. Lloyd Austin got sick and went into the hospital for a week. Didn't tell anybody. Tried to keep that secret. So that's not great. But Lloyd Austin was like a 3-star general.
Yeah,
and he had to get a special dispensation. A general is not supposed to go from being a general in the Army directly to Secretary of Defense, because that's a conflict of interest.
Yeah.
But so he had to get a special rule suspension just to become Secretary of Defense, because his experience was too recent. So the contrast is crazy.
Yeah, what I'm saying, this is the reason why Trump took a casino and bankrupt. I kind of figured it out. He chooses unwisely who he associates with.
Well, no, I mean, because the Trump organization is notoriously small, with only like 4 or 6 people, working. He makes a lot of the decisions. The reason that the casinos went bankrupt was he opened like 3 casinos. Well, Atlantic City, a dying town for gambling.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
It doesn't get the high rollers. The high rollers just fly to Vegas.
Vegas or Macau. Yeah.
All right, so that's thing one. Thing two is he opened 2 or 3 casinos, all with the Trump brand. So he was competing with himself for these low rollers, these senior citizens who ride buses, free buses from New York City. They send the buses up and they say, "Come on down, we'll pay for your bus and come gamble with us." The seniors go in and they drop $120 into the slots. You're not going to have a successful, casino based on that.
Yeah, well, it should be one of the most easiest businesses in the world to manage.
Right, but you open up one casino, and I mean, there's a Trump casino in Vegas, I believe, still. Yeah, I think, and I'm sure that does fine.
We should have the worst hires by Donald Trump. I'd say the worst hire was RFK. He's absolutely the worst. Number 2, who's running a close second, is Peter Hegseth. I mean, this guy doesn't belong Secretary of Defense. He doesn't belong Secretary of Shining My Shoes. And so the thing is, why anyone would bring somebody like that?
Let's widen out the discussion here.
Oh yeah.
Do you have idiots
joined us from
in Bangladesh? Do you have idiots in charge, Dr. Sharif?
Dr. Sharif. No, the people in Bangladesh are actually smart. They're not like the United States. So, How are you doing, Dr. Sharif?
Yeah, I'm fine. Thank you. When you discuss about the economical improvement and all of the tax paying issues, venturings and improvement of the human life, it's actually a very important topic for me, and it touched my heart because I'm closely working with the grassroots level people in Bangladesh. Bangladesh definitely very small country, but we are very good at microfinancing, right?
All right. So, and Sasha, you famously had a guy, Doug Ford, who is one of the biggest buffoons in the history of Canada. Um, and he was kind of beloved because he was such an idiot and also a drug guy, I think, and maybe a prostitute guy. And anyway, he's dead now. But his brother, I think, is still like a big politician, right?
He's quite popular in Ontario, and he has essentially no opposition in Ontario. People are really behind him, and that's quite interesting. His retaliatory tactics against U.S., which doesn't stop at the retaliation point only, but it goes much farther than that. It's he's not preparing even to cancel his tariffs when U.S. backs down, and he is being asked, "Why don't you cancel your retaliatory tariffs?" He said, "Because you're not nice to me enough." That's what he said to Americans. So he's playing, actually, he's taking Trump's language and demeanor and just using it against US itself. And so far, nobody figured out how to deal with him because his retaliatory actions are extremely powerful and playing really well on target, including electricity ban and many other actions. So maybe his example shows to other governments how to deal with Trump.
So Doug Ford is a good politician. I got it wrong. Rob Ford is his late brother, who was mayor of Toronto and was an absolute clown.
That's
but
right.
but was beloved by like late night comedians because he's one of those guys you can count on to can continue to say and do stupid things.
Yeah, it's very little to do with his brothers. They look differently. They are very, very different. So,
But I mean, other countries aren't immune from having, clowns in charge from time to time. It's just our great bad luck that, our guy has been in charge of the whole country for, 4+ years.
Yeah. Okay, sure. If you had some stuff you wanted to talk to me about, so what's going on the continent that has more people than we do, like a lot more people, like billions of more people than we do? What's going on over there in Asia?
Yeah, in Bangladesh, basically from my research centers, we are helping different startup communities. We are helping different social entrepreneurs because social entrepreneurship is very important. Just right now, even I'm just sending email. One of the tech giants from Silicon Valley, those who start operating in emerging economy, because we are providing AI training in Silicon Valley. In Stanford, I'm actually inventing a technology. It's called Kokoro. You know that Kokoro is a Japanese word. It means wisdom. So if you see that because of social media, because of present educational systems and all of the things, people has lack of wisdom. What you are trying to learn from Bangladesh because you want to improve your wisdom. So we are heavily working with these things like Global North and Global South. Like Global North has your own wisdom. You have many famous scientists, you have many famous people. Let's say Nick Palveda has his own wisdom. You may write a book. So you can train AI, and the Bangladeshi students, let's say in Chittagong, we can train people based on your wisdom, and they get their personal solutions. Example, how they can improve their chess playing games, or how they can improve their uh, business or academic activities. They can learn through your AI. That is called Kokoro.
Yeah.
So, Japan UN University, uh, Professor Yamanaka. He is Vice President of Japan. He is also working in my team. Beside that, in USA, we have some very famous scientists, some Nobel Prize winner. They are working in my teams, including Stanford, San Jose State University, St. Edward, even in Bangladesh, let's say this Chittagong University, University Grant Commissions. We are to develop a very good knowledge-oriented society. It's based on wisdom. So we are practicing. We are getting a very good result. People are excited. People love to learn these things. So why don't maybe your Pod TV can be our partners, and you can share the wisdom of Global North and Global South.
Sharif, I don't know, you're available not this week, but next week to be on we have a new show on the network called VC Masters with Solomon Alzar, who's a professor at Duke University, who does Duke is a big university here in the United States, in case you don't know. All right, and they have he's worked with 125 startups. I was wondering if you're able to be his guest next Thursday, if that's possible, to share with what's going on in Asia.
So can we talk about the history of Bangladesh for a second? Because most Americans have no idea. So Bangladesh was part of India. And then in 1948, they split India and into, so they cut off the sides of India into East Pakistan and West Pakistan, based mostly on religion, right? That you're an Islamist country. But you have two halves of a country, Pakistan, divided by 1,000 miles of India. So that didn't work at all. So then in 1971, Bangladesh became its own country. And you guys are huge in terms of, you're the 8th most populous country in the world.
Yes.
And in the beginning, you had corrupt government, but now you've cleaned it up, and your poverty rate went from 80% when you first became an independent nation to under 19% in 2022. So you guys are an economic success story.
Yeah, moving upwards. And the person I knew was Kazi Shakur. You can look him up. He was actually the national champion of Bangladesh. He came to Florida, and I used to play Kazi every week, because he was a good chess player. He was the national champion of Bangladesh. And so he was pretty good.
I'm guessing that Bangladesh, like when Americans hear about Bangladesh, often it's because of a natural disaster like floods, and all we see are water ripping through. But I feel like Bangladesh, if you look at it, you guys are a modern country with a decent standard of living, and
and they have a big workforce, big potential workforce. So if you're able to, VC Masters, we tape it every Thursday at 1. We'll make sure I got time right. Thursday, 1 o'clock EST. Okay. Yeah. Then it's broadcast obviously through the network, and then obviously all over the world. And also it hits this other place called, there's a VC group here in LinkedIn, and they've accepted our program, and they got about 430,000 people who watch it, which numbers don't impress you over there, because I watch how many Bangladesh people watch. You guys got hundreds of thousands of people who watch these shows. I mean, it's kind of amazing. So you don't put a discount the numbers that you have, or you got numbers.
Let me give a couple more statistics. The rate at which the standard of living is improving in Bangladesh is second highest in the world. You guys are, according to the Human Development Index, during the 21st century, you're second only to China in improving conditions for the people in your country. And also, you have a green transition, which I would never expect. Bangladesh's industrial sector has emerged as a leader in building green factories. Meaning factories that are less polluting than a regular factory.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah. Very, very forward-looking country, it sounds like.
Thank you, Mr. Rick. Actually, definitely in 1997, USA has very good contribution for Bangladesh.
Mhm.
Your political parties or people, they do not want our independence, but the people of USA, they heavily provide support to Bangladesh communities, especially our people. Even still, I think many for our uplifting our communities and everything, there are many donor agencies and business organizations. USA has very good contribution for Bangladesh improvement. Let's say Bill and Melinda Gates Foundations, World Bank, uh, many organization, many NGO playing a major role for Bangladesh developments. But recently, as Mr. Trump reducing grant from USAID and other things. So I find that almost 10,000 people lose their job in Bangladesh because
Wow.
of, yeah, but and indirectly it's create impact minimum 100,000 people,
Mhm.
because USAID and everyone, they do not want to pay. And I find that, let's say ICDDRB playing a major role, because once upon a time we have diarrhea and very disease, but because of their research contributions, the health industry improved a lot of Bangladesh. But it happened. So what I'm doing from my World Talent Economic Forum, because under the US funding, they have very good experience. So I'm helping these NGO people, how they can engage with different business organizations for CSR activities
Yeah.
or for different innovations. So that's where maybe these experienced people, they will contribute for these things. And actually many good things we can do together. That's why your program is life changing for me also,
Mhm.
because through this kind of dialogues we can learn from each others, we can be a very good friends, we can understand each others, we can understand different corporation things. And in USA I find you have lot of resources, you
We
have
did.
lot of innovations, you have lot of good startup. So they are not performing well in Silicon Valley. So I always request them, why don't you come to Bangladesh, why don't you go to Malaysia, or why
Mhm.
don't you go to China, because you need good customer, right, for growing your business. So I think that the more, that's why I developed this World Talent Economic Forum, my innovation lab. The more the global north and global south work together, we can solve this economical problem, we can solve this economical complexity. That's why we developed this Kokoro, this wisdom app, as well as we developed this leadership program, this climate leadership program. Let's say these North American people, they can come to Bangladesh and learn how microfinance work. On the other hand, Bangladeshi student can go to USA. We can learn from Silicon Valley how this startup ecosystem can work. On the other hand, we also can visit Japan. September, we have a big conference in Japan, UN University. We can understand this Japan culture. I'm also very big fan of Japan culture and everything. I do not know you like it or not, but I find it's create a positive leadership program, it's create a positive peoples. So what I say, like how I see different political leaders around the world, how they are performing, it's look, they do not have enough engagement with this global south. That's why they took a lot of decision, which is not even good for their country. So maybe through this process, maybe next 5 years, and Pot TV can be our partners. Maybe next 5 years, we can develop a very good leaders from around the world. Maybe 100 countries can engage in this ecosystem, and you get brilliant leaders, right? And they helps to solve this economical problem, solve healthcare problem, solve energy problem, solve financial problems, right? And this is the beauty. We should work, we should not focus on all of the wire, we should not focus on all of the negative things. This is the way we can positively make relationship.
So
And
I want to talk about the entertainment industry because that's where my background is. And the U.S. has been the center of the world's dreams. We make the video games, we make the TV, we make the movie. And even in that area, we are squandering our lead. The U.S., the number of movies made in the U.S. peaked in 2019 at 1,600. Then in 2023, it was down to 1,200. 2024, 1,160, which is a ton of movies, but it's down 30%. And you guys, Canada and Bangladesh, you're each making 100 movies a year. So in the future, if the U.S. keeps squandering its lead, the U.S. won't even be, the dream capital of the world.
Well, I think that's inevitable, though, Rick. I don't see Hollywood holding the grip on the entertainment industry. I see that going to be a worldwide.
It used to be the LA Times would run a weekly or even a daily feature saying, here are the productions going on around town. And there'd be a dozen or two productions listed. That went away. That list went away years ago. And you used to drive around town and see right now there's one production where you can see shooting, which is Fallout season, New Vegas. They've recreated this post-apocalyptic chunk of Vegas in North Hollywood, and it's cool to see. And it's good. It's people working, but there's not anywhere near as much of that as there used to be.
Yeah, I see that industry being exported. And see, here's where I want you to meet Dr. Hauser at Duke University, because here's where the opportunity lies. And we're even looking at for our company is to hire more people outside the United States. Why do you want to do that? I can tell you, it's labor cost, Dr. Sharif. The people in Bangladesh will work cheaper than the people in the United States. Hiring people in the U.S., and we have plenty of people here that work, is very expensive, and it drives up our internal cost. Hiring people overseas is very inexpensive. Living in Spain, where I'm at, is very inexpensive. Even my housekeeper has got to be 1/10 of what I spent in the U.S. I mean, I'm serious. So what you're doing is you have a different labor cost demographic than we do in the U.S. So, and there are startups here too, and there are corporations here also that are looking for people that are willing to work. That's the other thing is, okay, one problem you have over here you don't know, and I don't know if it exists in Bangladesh, a lot of people that we try to interview, they just don't want to work. They want to get the check, but they don't want to work. It's like, And then in some places like in Utah, where we're headquartered, we can't find anybody. The unemployment's like 1%. I'm serious. We're trying to drag people in anywhere we can to go work for our company because everybody's fully employed, gainfully employed, making lots of money. Now what do you do? So I think the opportunity you have over where you're at is to connect with the people, the companies over here, especially in the Salt Lake Valley, which are begging to have people to work. And these are good, high-paying service jobs. And they're going begging because everybody's fully employed, at least in Utah, where we're headquartered at. So there's a lot of opportunity. I want you to meet with Dr. Azar and see if we can put A and B together. And our company, I think we just hired 4 more people this week. It's really it's painful.
Can we get an update from Sasha on Ukraine with all the chaos over the past couple of days? Any new developments with Ukraine?
Yeah, there was very interesting article in Foreign Affairs yesterday that all these so-called negotiators and all this bunch of idiots, they underestimating the real power of Ukrainian army. And today I've just read that the new attack against the little city of Toretsk by Russians, it became what Ukrainians called a Russian safari. They were betting on who will kill more Russians. And Ukrainian soldiers, who are physically much stronger than Russians, much better equipped and motivated, they were destroying Russians in proportions of 8-2. So of each 10 people who would start attack against Ukrainians, 8 were immediately liquidated, 2 somehow would make back. Not every 2, but some of them may do. And guess what Russians would do next? They would send another 10 people. They're now to to sort of diminish their losses, they're now attacking in small groups of 10 people. So 10 people are moving in the attack.
So how is Russia getting more troops to walk into not certain death, but an 80% chance of death?
Those this is so-called, they're using a strategy by the name the meat attacks. So the meat, let's say 10 people, it's a meat of, let's see, 100 kilos, no, probably 80 kilos each. So that create 800 kilos of meat. And that is moving into attack. The 8 of these meat attack participants are liquidated. The 2 are making back. And the next group starts right away.
Yeah, but how does Russia, are they just kidnapping men off the street and forcing them into the army? How do you, nobody wants to.
Yeah, well, they're taking people from jails and
often from Eastern Russia and Vladivostok, people that don't know what's going on.
Now they're paying equivalent of, actually yesterday we calculated, it's about equivalent of $40,000 for each whoever recruits to fight for Russia. So now there is very interesting situation when wives are trapping their husbands and bring them into army so they would get $40,000. So they're saying you're good for nothing idiot. So $40,000 at least while you're going to be killed there. So at least your family will be able to survive for some time. So they're denouncing their husbands and bringing them any ways they can to these offices of Russian army. So there are a lot of funny stories. Actually, my opinion is if it wouldn't be for Trump, Russia probably already would sign capitulation and get their army hell out of Ukraine, because they all will be killed. There is a policy of no prisoners. You see, whenever you're taking prisoners, you have to attend for them, you have to feed them, you have to look after them, and so on. Now, if it's a corpse, you don't care anymore about it. You have no responsibility. You don't have to feed. You don't have to respond to queries from Red Cross or anybody else. So the easiest strategy is to kill, and one more time, to kill. That is what Russians are facing in Ukraine, and Trump is trying to help them, to get them out of the bloody war. And Putin is playing a tough guy, and he's talking about some nonsense. What's irritating that people like Steve Witkoff, they are repeating Putin's lie and even augmenting it to become even more brazen lie. One of them is absolutely incredible, saying that according to Steve Witkoff, Ukraine got the Zaporozhye, Kherson, the Lugansk and Donetsk regions, and Crimea as a result of Second World War. Such a, you know what, how much I love Mr. Putin, but I don't believe that Putin would ever said so. So this is now variation of Steve Witkoff, this a New York real estate developer who has absolutely no knowledge of history, geography, diplomacy, just anything besides being Trump's little doggy who is manufacturing news that Trump wants to hear. My only question is, what is Trump's exit strategy for this disaster? What he said that he will make a peace in 24 hours, now in 100 days or 6 days or 365 days. What's his exit strategy? Because he has to save himself without being a complete fool and a liar. Nick, what do you think?
That's absolutely a good question. I also have another question. What did Putin stand to gain to stay in this abusive relationship with Ukraine? In other words, what's in it for Putin? I don't get what's in it for Putin and Russia to be involved in the controversy in Ukraine. It seems to me it's a losing proposition.
Okay.
But why is he still hanging out there? I wouldn't hang out there. It's ridiculous.
Okay. Here's a very simple answer.
Delusional.
For Putin. Putin cannot survive a peace. There must be a war as long as he's staying in power, as long as he is alive, because probably these two things will come together. He's staying in power and being alive. The problem is, as soon as the war is over, there will be a question, our dear Vladimir Vladimirovich, what's happened with 900,000 Russian boys that you sent to war? A third of them are killed, more than a third are maimed and will never be able to return to normal life. And others are either deserted or hiding somewhere or whatever they could be. But according to official information, it's well over 900,000 Russians are being liquidated or near that. Remember that in 10 years of war in Afghanistan, Russia lost 15,000 people. And here in 3 years, 900,000. And what have you, Vladimir Vladimirovich Putin, what you have achieved for sacrificing 900,000 young souls? What is the balance? So what we've got for that? Let's imagine that there will be a peace, a temporary or some kind of a longer peace. What Russia is now going to do, their economy is ruined. It's all being redirected to the military mode of operation. Now they are getting 4, make it 5 Ukrainian regions, which are completely destroyed, that he has to do something about it, or he's going to keep it the way they are now for the next 15 years. These are the questions, and only continuation of war will spare him of answering these questions.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So the thing is, he's just looking to keep his butt safe right now by keeping the war going. Other than that, I don't see where I don't see the win. Now, what about peacekeepers? The European Union says they're going to bring in peacekeepers. My thoughts: what about 1,000 F-35s? Won't that be a pretty good peacekeeping group if you have 1,000 F-35s?
Nick, you should know better. The peacekeepers are required when there is a peace. If there is no peace, there are no peacekeepers. So that's
okay. So Sasha, here's my proposition. Why don't we build and send 1,000 F-35s, and they can either be peacekeepers or not. Ukrainians can use them as they wish. What's wrong with that?
Okay, what's wrong with that is that Trump has completely different goals from Putin, from Ukraine, from anybody else. Trump's biggest enemy today is not Russia, not China. It's Europe. It's a democratic, very strong, very powerful economically Europe, and soon militarily. And if Trump would allow somehow Putin to take over Ukraine, so that a huge army, if Putin will absorb Ukrainian army, that would become by far the most devastating power, military power in Europe. And if that military power will start advance on Baltic states, Poland, Romania, Germany, France, and so on, Trump would get rid of Europe. He is already preparing for that. He is moving now US troops from Germany, where it's been for the last 80 years or so. Now he's moving them to Hungary, which is very friendly state to Russia. So US army, if they will ever fight in Europe, they will fight on the Russian side, not on the European side. So this is Trump. What's his strategy? And Ukraine is standing on his way. That's why he always hated, and now even more, Ukraine, Zelensky. But he is powerless to do anything about it because this idiot Putin, he cannot even, but he wanted to take Kyiv in 3 days. Now 3 years and counting, and he's not near. They're moving to progress in some little villages. It's taking them a week to make 100-meter progress, losing at least 1,500 people a day. That's where Putin is, and Trump is
So
trying
we should talk
to see.
proportions. So Russia today is about the size that the U.S. was in World War II, 160 million people. The U.S. Russia lost 10 million people more in World War II. 20, I don't know, it was a terrible time under Stalin.
There are some numbers of 70 million people. You know what? Officially, what Russians recognize, they lost in Second World War 27 millions. That's where they stop.
So so the U.S. lost 1.5% of that. The U.S. lost 410,000 people in World War II. We were very lucky that we didn't have to fight the war on our soil.
Yep.
And we came in late. We only, for Europe, World War II was 6 years. For us, it was 4 years. But now, just in this little Ukraine war, Russia has lost more than twice as many people, 900,000, as the U.S. did in all of World War II.
That's right.
And
You're right.
Yeah, and they already have a declining population base. I think the population is 175 million going down.
160 million.
160 million. What is Bangladesh's population, Dr. Tree?
Bangladesh population is near about 170 million.
No, 270. I thought 270. You guys are.
No.
There's more people in Bangladesh than Russia.
I don't know. Let's look it up.
That's usually got.
Yeah, Bangladesh is the 8th most populous country.
Yeah.
So let's see.
Maybe Bangladesh should invade Russia.
Oh, you're right. It's 171 million.
Okay, so it's 171 million, and Russia's 160 million. Are you sure on that, Rick?
Let's double. Oh no! Right now, Russia's down to 144 million.
Ooh.
Bangladesh has.
What you're saying is Bangladesh has a bigger population than Russia.
27 million more people than Russia.
Ooh. So Dr. Shreve, you can go kick Russia's tail. Just think about that.
No, not possible. They are big countries. So big countries.
No, they have a lot of land, but they don't have any people. You have a lot of people, but you don't have any land. You can fix that because you got more people. So we should send you the F-35s and come in on the side of Ukraine.
Demographically speaking, there are a huge advantage for Bangladesh men because Russian population is 60% women and 40% men. And half of these 40% of men, they're impotents, and another are drinking idiots. There are very few capable men, and those capable men, they're now fighting Ukraine, and 9 of 10 will be dead anyway. So there will be a huge demand.
What is the relationship that Bangladesh has with Russia right now? We know the U.S., we kind of don't like those guys, and both me and Sasha, we've both been to Russia. And I love the city of Leningrad. I thought it was wonderful, now called St. Petersburg. Beautiful. And I didn't have any problems with other than the pickpockets. No problems with the Russian people. The little lady who didn't speak English gave me pancakes every day for breakfast. But that was my relationship with what is Bangladesh? What's your relationship with Russia?
I think Russia developed the largest nuclear power plant in Bangladesh.
Oh, did they really? Wow.
Yeah, they develop, and we have a city. All of the people speak in Russia, and you can say it a small city, Russian city in Bangladesh. But there is a huge complaint, and we call it dudo, like those who go and find out any corruption happens. There is a major corruption allegation against Russia and our previous government, like our Sheikh Hasina, to do all of the major corruption through this nuclear power plant.
So
And
I have artist friends in St. Petersburg. I've bought mosaics from them. They make some of the finest mosaics in the world. Mostly, if you see mosaics in America, they're crappy. They were made, by somebody who was just doing, some mom who was doing crafts in the 1970s. But these are beautiful, beautiful works of art. But I quit talking with them. I quit exchanging emails with them because I didn't think it would do either of us any good once the war started. They wouldn't want to be receiving emails from America, and I don't want to be like sending emails to Russia. It sounds, very, I don't know.
You know what you should do, Rick, is find what the war plans are, get on Peter's mailing list and send our war plans to Russia. That'd be pretty cool.
They already have them. They're one of the guys on the list was in Russia while he was exchanging,
That's ridiculous. But in the meantime, we're past the hour, so we have to go because we got other shows coming in. I want to thank Dr. Sharif. And Dr. Sharif, I want to see you and also want to see Sasha on the VC Master Show. I'm trying to get Sasha to go tomorrow, but he has not answered my email yet. In the meantime, we'll see you on what we did.
Send me a link and what time. Is it?
Okay, I'll do that. All right, no problem. It'll be tomorrow.
And now, some interesting news just came that the German government said to the West that Putin is manipulating these talks about the peace. He is playing for time. Nothing. And even Trump yesterday, he said that I start to suspect that Putin is playing for time. But maybe it's not so like he was trying to smooth it out. Anyway.
All right, we'll see you tomorrow on World Edition. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.